Hey Gene Yoon, I'm finally making this video. It's only 6 months late. What is up, everybody? I'm Joe Tobias, a Washington State elopement photographer based in Seattle, and that was the most YouTube-y... Ugh, I didn't like that intro at all. A couple years ago, I had a Yashica T4 die on me, and that was really sad. And because I really liked that camera, not just because it's expensive and trendy, but like I actually really liked using it. But since then, I've been on the market trying to find its replacement, something that I can use, something that can take its place as my everyday go-to camera. And I think I found it. And so today's video is all about this little thing, the Olympus Infinity Mini DX. So before I start, one thing I almost don't want to make this video just because this camera is still cheap, and it's like I feel like it's one of the only deals to be out there, and so I actually bought a backup before making this video just because I'm afraid, not that I think I'm gonna be so crazy popular, but just like get the deals while you can, and then if one breaks, you got a backup. So this is the Infinity Mini DX, and so the Infinity, this camera was made in '95 is when it released. It was one of the last ones that last point and shoots that Olympus kind of made in this line. And if you know anything about the Olympus line, there's the Mu line, there's the Mu and the Mu 2, which are wildly popular cameras, and you used to be able to get them at Goodwill, and now they're going for $200 to $600 on eBay. So that's kind of like their top line, and then this was their next step down. So it wasn't their bottom level, but it was their medium level. And the reason, I just think that this is the jam, and so that's part of the reason why I think these are still not quite so popular, is because they are that, whereas the others got all the hype is because they were like the premium point and shoot, and this is the regular point and shoot. And so A, there's probably more of them out in the world, and B, they haven't been hyped yet. So I guess I'm here to hype it. But with that, let's talk about the camera itself. This is a simple film point and shoot. So it shoots 35mm film. It does have a DX card reader inside of it, and it has a fixed 35mm f3.5 lens. So that means it doesn't zoom at all, but it does, obviously adjust aperture. So why do I like this camera so much? There's a lot of, the first thing I like about it is the ease of using it. This is the fastest turn on of any point and shoot I've ever used. And so it's just on instantly. As soon as that door comes across, you can read the numbers of how many frames that you've taken across the top, and it's ready to go. Unlike the Mu 1, when you did that, it had a similar door, but as soon as you move the door, the camera would have to like adjust a little bit. Or if you used others in the Stylus series, the zoomy ones, as soon as you open the door up, it has to extend the lens before it starts using it. And so what's so awesome about this is that it can be off and then take a photo. It's just the fastest way to turn it on of any camera, or like of any of this type of film point and shoot that I've ever used, which is really helpful. Another reason that I wanted to use this camera is just because it does have both flash settings and self-timers, just like almost every point and shoot does. It's super easy to use, just kind of tap through those. I use the self-timer all the time because I'm continuing my self-portrait project with my daughter. And so that was part of the reason I needed this camera, is because I wanted a 35mm pocketable camera that I could carry with us to continue that project. And that's probably half of what I've used this thing for. And it really has done that well. Another reason I do really love this camera is that lens itself. The f3.5 is pretty fast, as far as 3.5 is pretty quick as far as film point and shoots go. Like there's the Mu 2, and then there's an older Olympus that's at f2.8, but that's kind of about it. Then there's this one, the Yashica T4 was at f3.5. There's probably a few others, but then once you get into the zooms, it's a lot smaller aperture, and so that 3.5 really is a pretty solid kind of intermediary speed, and so that it still does create separation. When you're taking photos of something that's reasonably close and it hits the focus, it creates separation of the thing. Like there's fuzziness in the background, which is amazing. And the lens itself is really sharp. As soon as I got this, I put some black and white Canton R400 in it, just because I don't know, I've never used this camera before. I didn't want to use expensive film, so I put this in there and was taking a couple photos of my family at a park, and some friends were there, and this is their whole family, and I took this photo while running with the flash and panning with them. Crisp. And so yeah, the lens is great. So another reason that I really like this camera is because it allows you to get more shots out of a roll. I feel like almost every automatic camera, whether it be film point and shoot or film SLR, has really long leaders when it's going into the camera, to make sure that, I'm sure the camera makers would all say, to make sure you're not wasting, or like that your shots all count or something like that. But honestly, it probably was Kodak being like, no, you got to waste a foot of film, so that they have to keep buying more. This has the shortest run-up of any automatic camera I've ever used, because all you have to do is just put that in, just like so, and you just have to move it just like an inch. Like, you don't even have to get it all the way over there, and if you close that, that would seal. And it's ready to go. And so honestly, I've been getting like 38, even 39 photos out of a 36 roll, which is fantastic, especially as film prices are going up these days. It's really awesome to be able to be a little bit more economical with that. Now, there definitely are some people who think 39 photos is too many for a roll, but especially for a camera that I use mainly as a life documentation camera, it's not that I'm going through and I need these photos back for a project, or that it's not very often that I'm going out and I'm trying to shoot a whole roll at once. And so it's way more helpful just to have this camera that just sits there, and if I can get 3 extra photos out of it, that's great. That saves me a little bit of money. Obviously though, there's no such thing as a perfect camera, and this thing is not perfect either. And so I've got a few things of, bummers about it, but none of them I feel are huge deal breakers. The first thing that's weird about this camera is just that the flash is here on the door itself. With something like the Mu 2 or the Mu, it's inside the door, so as soon as you open it up, it's right inside there. With my previous EG-T4, that was permanently mounted on the outside over here. And so what I really struggled with when I first started using this camera is that I would open it up and I'd be like claw gripping it like this, and then I'd take a photo and I'd be using that, and like my middle finger or something would be covering the flash, and it was weird. And so I just took time to learn, like, when I use this camera, I have to intentionally make sure that that finger is out of the way. That's not a huge deal if this is the only point and shoot camera in your life. You really can pretty quickly learn to keep your finger out there, or it just takes practice and stuff. But if you're making that transition from a camera that has a different placed flash, that can be annoying. Also, with that puts the flash here on the bottom side. And so for me, I'd always gone and I'd taken photos vertically. I'd taken them like this. And with my personal style, I don't like that, because that puts the flash down below when it's taking a photo, and that creates then a shadow above your subject, because that little tiny bit of a difference, if someone is close to a wall, like if I took a selfie like this right here, then my head would have the shadow here, or like make a shadow that would be visible because the lens is above the flash. And so I've also had to learn, as much as, for years I've taken photos because other cameras, the flash was on this side, I've learned that I have to switch onto this side to take it. Now, because I'm right eye dominant, that's actually fine, because it makes it easier for me to be able to keep my left eye open as I'm taking photos, but it just was a transition. It just took time to learn that difference. Another thing that is a bummer about this particular camera is that there's something about these battery doors that the hinge is super flimsy. I've owned 3 of them, which is ridiculous, but that's not the point. But with that, only only one of the three actually had a functioning back door. The other two, that door wouldn't stay closed, and I had to tape it in order to keep that in there. Now, it's not a huge deal. You can just put gaffer's tape on it, and I gaffer's tape almost all of my cameras anyway, just to give them a little bit of extra protection, but it's annoying. But as much as that door is a little bit of a pain, it is awesome because this camera actually has two different battery options. So you can either use AA batteries, or you can use these ladder, what are they, 118A batteries. So you can have a pick. Now, personally, I use the AA's just because I have a lot of AA's and have rechargeable AA's, but I still have a few of these laying around from other cameras too, so it is awesome to have options. Not that you change a battery all that often in a camera like this, but it still is cool when you can just be able to use whatever tool you have. Another bummer about this camera is the quartz date. And when I bought the first one of these, I was really excited because I kind of love the quartz date on these cameras, especially when I'm using it either for my life documentation or for weddings. Like, it's super cool to be able to have this on there and to be able to put a date of a couple's wedding as I'm like taking dance party photos or something with a camera like this. But in the two of the three cameras I have the quartz date on them, but neither of them I was able to get the set button to work on. So again, maybe the one that you bought, maybe I'm just getting unlucky here, but when I have two cameras that have the same problem, it seems that it doesn't seem like it's quite a one-off, and so maybe yours, I don't know. I hope that yours wouldn't have the problem with that set option as well, but it's just a thing to look out for. I know that I talked really extensively about how great the lens is, but one little negative about it is that it feels like there either isn't the same level of anti-flare coating on it, or just with the angle of where it sits here, it's pretty prone to ghosting effects. And so if you're out on a sunny day and the sun is coming in at especially at that side angle right into there, it's a pretty bulbous lens here that sticks out. And I've had a fair number of photos here, especially like these ones here from the mountains, where the sun was catching that bulb a little bit and causing these ghosting effects. It's not a huge deal, and now that I'm learning to do it, it's just, I'll try to remember to, when I go out there, I'm taking a photo, oh, sun's coming in, I'm just going to do a little bit something like that, just to try to cast a shadow onto the lens, but that's annoying, I don't know. And the last thing that I don't like about this camera is just the general build quality. It's fully made of plastic, which is nice because it's light, but I was carrying my first one of these and it slipped out of my hands and it fell on the ground and the door popped off and the camera just is dead, which I got the door back on. I thought I'd maybe be able to piece everything back together because it didn't feel like the cables were broken or anything, but it's donezo. And that's a bummer. Like, even if this thing is cheap, I don't want my stuff to break, and especially as I feel like there's less, like every day there is less reasonably good film point and shoots on the market. Like, they're breaking all the time, and so I don't want to keep having mine break because then I have to keep buying new ones and every day they get more expensive. But final thoughts, I love this camera. Is it the greatest camera in the world? No. Is it? Yeah, it's not. But it is a reasonably priced working film point and shoot that you could probably still acquire for a price that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg right now. And in the market that we're in right now, it's pretty awesome and I highly recommend it. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you around.